Let's take a closer look at campaign 2016. And for that, we are joined by Philip Bump, political columnist for the Washington Post. Philip, good morning.
Good morning.
So let's talk about this. What do you make of Donald Trump's pitch to African-American voters?
I think it is a very poor pitch. Donald Trump is not doing well with black voters. He's actually underperforming where Mitt Romney ended up in 2012, which is pretty amazing since Mitt Romney is running against the first black president. But I think it's rooted in a number of things: Donald Trump's history, the fact that he's done very little to no outreach to the black communities. The New York Times reported this week. But also, like, his pitch itself was like this number about unemployment being over 50%. It's not an accurate number. There are all these ways in which the way he presented the problem was inaccurate, and it's not clear who he's actually trying to appeal to.
Yeah, I'm curious what your view is, because here, I mean, he didn't even really sort of go into a black community to give this speech. Right. So it's a peculiar kind of outreach, and I'm trying to figure out what he actually hopes to get from it.
Right. So one theory, which is not a terribly generous theory, but one theory is that he understands a part of his problem right now. The reason he's not doing well in the polls is because Republican voters are soft on supporting him. A fifth of Republican men and a quarter of Republican women in the most recent post-ABC poll say they think that Donald Trump has a problem with sexism and bigotry. Yeah. And if his goal is to try and make people feel as though he's doing real outreach to the black community, his own base of support, his own Republican base, that may be one strategy.
Let's talk about Paul Manafort. What effect do you think his resignation is going to have on Donald Trump's campaign?
Well, the immediate effect it had was he had this speech on Thursday, which was the first time we've seen him give a presidential-type speech, and then 12 hours later, all anyone's talking about is how his campaign is in turmoil. So that was the immediate effect. But I think that over the long term, it reinforces the questions about Donald Trump's ties to Russia, which he's been trying to escape for some time now, and it just continues this sense that his campaign is constantly in turmoil.
There was this week a sense that there was a strategic shift of some kind, though, and you wrote that 82 days away from Election Day, Trump started running for president. What did you mean?
Well, I meant that he actually started to seem as though he was going to run a campaign. He started buying TV ads, which normally is done months ago. He gave this speech that actually seemed like a presidential speech. He brought on people who seem as though they understand how this whole process works, which he hasn't had to this point.
But, the clock is ticking. As you wrote, even though the election is on November 8th, there are a lot of people, who are casting their ballots before then. Is there enough time for him to turn things around?
It's a great question. It's a weird election cycle, so probably. I mean, there's a lot of time left, even though time is short, which is a weird thing to say. But so early voting starts next month in a lot of places, and that means that he needs to turn things around quickly, or else the votes that are being cast are going to be heavily cast in favor of Hillary Clinton.
Let's talk about Hillary Clinton for a second.
Sure.
We mentioned the FBI has closed its investigation, but a judge has ordered her to answer questions. Is that going to affect this campaign, do you think, even though she may not have to answer until the election's over?
Right. Well, I think that the challenge for Hillary Clinton with the email thing has always been there's always new news, in part because she's got these folks pushing on her, and every time it comes into the news, she has to answer the questions all over again.
Philip Bump from the Washington Post. Thanks, Philip.
Thank you.